without further ado, man, we have a guest today that really requires no introduction. It's Mr. Chris Daughtry. I mean, he's like, he's like actually a famous dude to to the normal people of the earth. But me and him, became kind of acquainted on social media a few years back, and he's just been the coolest dude, man. So nice to me, so gracious. And Bad Wolves did a song with him called "Hungry for Life," and he crushed it, absolutely crushed it. And he has some new material out that's just sounds incredible. And just I was gonna take a break from the show, and then I had the opportunity to speak with Chris, and I was like, you know what, let's do it, because I've been trying to talk to him for quite some time. So this was a really, really fun conversation. One of the most talented dudes I've ever been around. So definitely an absolute honor. So check out this conversation with the incredible Mr. Chris Daughtry. Dude, thanks for doing this. This has been kind of like a long time coming. I've been talking to your guy Kevin for a long time about trying to make this happen, and I actually was like, my show is actually going to go on break, and I was done doing interviews, and he's like, yo, Chris could do it. Like, all right, Coyle out of retirement.
Dude, I appreciate you asking me, man.
No, I mean, listen,
Yeah.
I feel like you and I have a very strange connection in the universe for whatever reason, which is like wild to me, because you're just like, you're a figure, I feel like that has kind of existed in the world, not even my world, but just like the world of like music and celebrity and this other thing. So it's to even, kind of have any, and you're so interacting with you is so different from that. You're just like extremely humble and very like welcoming and down to earth. And it's like, it's just cool, man. I just appreciate
Well, that depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, man.
Oh, dude, it's no problem. I definitely appreciate it. But yeah, definitely like, your story is about as, I think, interesting and unique as it gets in this world. So yeah, any opportunity to kind of like dig into that a little bit, I'm definitely going to take. So welcome to the X-Man podcast.
Thank you, man. Love the name of it, by the way.
Well, don't get over me to not take advantage of a good pun every now and again.
Absolutely.
But no, I guess I want to talk about, so you have been touring a lot though, right?
Yeah, we let's see. By the way, can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
sometimes these things sound like ass.
No, it's great.
We went out for like 6 weeks with Breaking Benjamin and Catch Your Breath, and then we're kind of off right now. And we did the Creed cruise thing, and then which was crazy. That was awesome. And we're about to. I think we've got 3 shows with Creed on their upcoming. Is it summer tour or start of fall? I can't remember dates. But and then we go back out with Breaking Benjamin and Stained for the fall, doing amphitheaters. So looking forward to it, man. And the whole time been working on a record. So, which I don't love doing both. But the way we've kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of getting all over the place, but the way we're kind of doing this record is we're splitting it up into 2 parts. So into 2 EPs, and then it'll be 1 when it's all said and done. So because of that, we've kind of just taken our time with it, because felt like, the first half of the record it feels, and it's coming. I don't have an exact date, but we're looking around September. But I'm so happy with it. Now the second half is way harder. You know what I mean? It's like when you got 6 songs that you're like, fuck yeah, this is exactly what I wanted. It's nothing like we've ever done. And then everything else feels like you're just, man, the lyrics are hard to come by. it's hard to find a track that feels fresh and inspiring, but we're getting there. So we're kind of in that second half right now. But yeah, that and touring is kind of what's on the docket for the rest of the year.
Do you like kind of look at that process maybe a little differently than, the traditional sense? Because it seems like so many bands are kind of moving more to the single type, release schedule, or even like you said, like EPs, things that kind of releases singles and then become an EP, and then that combines another EP and then becomes an album. I mean, are you still thinking about it in terms of like an album, or you're just like, you know what, I'm just gonna make songs?
That's an interesting question. I am actually thinking of it as a full record. So it, you know how it is when you're writing, sometimes you don't really think about it, but at the end of it, you go, oh, there's a through line here. There's this common theme that seems to keep coming up in the lyrics, or there's this, this sonically speaking, it kind of has this thing that really ties it all together. So I think that's just kind of a product of where I'm at as a writer at the time. And I only write about what's real in the moment. It's kind of hard for me to go, ooh, let's write a song about this,
Mm.
and then it just feels like contrived. I've done that plenty. Trust me. I've put out many records of doing that. And I think this last few years of, getting back into the rock world has kind of, I don't know, it's kind of sparked something different in me that feels maybe more vulnerable, more real, more relevant to what I'm going through or what I'm dealing with, and just being open enough to talk about it in the songs. And I think a lot of that keeps coming up into the lyrics. And so, yeah, it does feel like a full body of work. But at the same time, it's this, like when we released Artificial, at the time we were just working on a record. We weren't really thinking about splitting it up or anything like that. And that song came about, and it felt so, when you're working on songs, it feels like I'm going to let this marinate for a little bit. I'm going to come back to that, which we did with our current single Pieces and some of the other stuff. We're like, this is good where it is right now, but it's clearly missing something. It's not finished yet. We're going to come back. When we did Artificial, it felt like, oh shit, this feels like urgent. It feels done. Let's get the guys playing their parts on it now. And we were so excited about it. We kind of like pumped the brakes on everything else. And I went to the label and I was like, I know we're nowhere close to finishing this record, but I think we need to release this like tomorrow,
Yeah.
And obviously it didn't happen that quick, but, and the label was, they could hear my excitement and was like, all right, well, let's hear it. And I played it for them and they were like, oh, wow. Like this feels scary in a way that it's nothing you've ever done before, but exciting at the same time, because it also feels like very much you. And that was that was exciting for me, because it did feel like I've never really tread in the, I don't necessarily want to call it metal, but it does have elements of metal to it that I always grew up loving, but I never really did it in my own music. And that was a little terrifying, just to, I don't know how it's going to be taken. I don't know how the fans are going to react, if they're going to be like, what the fuck is this? And it was our first number one at rock radio. So it was like, okay, we're doing the right thing here. We're on the right track. Let's hit the gas here now and plow forward, because we knew that this was working, and it made it a lot easier to work on the other material. So, that kind of slowed the process down, but at the same time, it made us go, okay, we can release a song when it feels right and when it's finished, and still be working on the record. as a whole, as the like that is the ultimate goal. But at the same time, with the way everyone's attention span is, and you know, I want the focus to be on the song, and we can still be working on the rest. But I felt like, man, if we just put everything out right now without, kind of trickling it a little bit, it feels like we're going to have songs that never see the light of day or never really get the attention we hope it would get. So, yeah, that's kind of when we decided, hey, we've got 6 solid tunes right now. Let's call that the first half. And, the label was okay with doing that. And I've noticed a lot of bands been doing that. I saw Trey, you did like 3 EPs before it was the final record, and it seemed to work. I don't know if there's any rules anymore, to be honest, with just the way people consume music.
Well, I think the only rules really, I think a lot of bands, and I think, Bad Wolves is kind of tied into this too, is a lot of your advanced structures are based on albums. So the kind of business end of it, you're kind of stuck in that realm unless you can figure out a situation where you can kind of like, I don't know, like because a lot of bands, like, they rely on that to like pay their bills and pay their mortgages and kind of keep people in tow in terms of the finances of how different bands work. So it's like the industry is changing. You're seeing with like what Falling on Reverse does. They haven't released an album in, I don't even know how long,
since like 2016 or 17 or something.
Yeah, and it's only done amazing for them. And so it's you don't have to be a genius to see things that are working and go, well, maybe we should do that.
Yeah, it's funny you bring them up, because they were the example. Ronnie was the example that I went. It's like, he's been trickling out songs for the last 5 years, and every single song has had its day. You know what I mean? Every song has had its moment to really. And then you've got these new songs that everyone wants to hear when you do play live. And it's not like, oh, that song's been out for like 2 years, but no one really paid attention because they were so focused on the single. And it just feels like it's better for us in the touring world, because now you're ready to hear this new song because that's all you've been listening to. And then when we release another one, we can add that to the set, and so forth and so on. And it allows each song to have its moment. And obviously you can't really do that for a full album, because God, I mean, people would be, you do get to a point where it's like, all right, just give me the damn album. You know what I mean? Like, okay, enough with the waterfall here. But I think 3 or 4 tunes, and then the rest of it feels, like a good way to do it these days. But like I said, I don't know if there's any rules. I think it's and it probably differs between each band and their fan base and how they consume.
Yeah, I want to talk about Artificial a little bit, because I think it's a real kind of milestone for the band, and it's weird because I feel like I was, you have these massive hits, throughout the years, but it is kind of jarring to like listen to like the last record and then these new songs, and then go back and listen to your first record, and it's like, it is so different and so like almost like soft rock, like not even like it's very like of, I guess, if you kind of go back to that era and kind of the ilk of a lot of the kind of more very like, there's like hard rock and like a different kind of mainstream rock that I'm like almost like, it's like I guess the way you perceive someone evolves slowly over time, and then you go back and then it's only then that the contrast is so stark. How much you've evolved and kind of changed. And I was like, reading some stuff, you basically saying the previous record, on RCA, that like, which I was listening to it seems like it's a bit more like pop or kind of that like the modern kind of pop rock stuff that was going
Yeah,
on.
which one was it? Do you remember?
Which record? The 2018 record.
Cage to Rattle.
Yeah, yeah. It had a little more of that kind of like 21 Pilots kind of feel. Things like that. But you're saying things about how like leaving the label and you going, you have a more of a control, like what you were doing in the direction, and things seem to kind of evolve from there. And then also just like the associations, right? Like playing with some heavier bands and kind of being more just associated in that world. Is that something you were always feeling, but you just felt like you couldn't express that? Or is it just your taste have changed over the years? Or the band's taste has changed?
Yeah, it's funny because when I did the first record, everything that I listened to prior to going on the TV show and getting a record deal and putting that first record out was always heavier stuff, like way heavier stuff than what I was. I felt like there were the bands that I was in prior to that, we were always leaning into that heavier direction. And then there was this kind of unspoken pressure to we got to deliver a rock record, but it's got to be accessible to radio. And so, I go back and I listen to that first record and I was like, there were moments where at the time I was like, hell yeah, we're these songs feel like the direction we were kind of, it felt like a nice compromise. It still had big guitars, but it was, had a pop sensibility to it for radio. But there were songs like What I Want, where Slash was on it, and There and Back Again that I wrote with Brent Smith from Shinedown. And those always had a little harder edge, but it was always kind of, it felt like in hindsight, the way it was produced was like, let's make this easy to swallow. You know what I mean? And then I would keep, delivering these songs to the label, like this is where we're, and we would keep nudging, like, this is where we're, because the first record, we'd go out and we'd play with like Saliva and Seven Dust. And I remember doing this one festival where, and not to mention, it was extremely terrifying because we knew we weren't that hard. We knew that there's going to be some we're going to sense something in the crowd. You know what I mean? I'm like, we're playing 98 Rock Fest or whatever with Seven Dust and Hell Yeah. Right. And I remember like LeJean and Vinny and Chad Gray, they're all side stage and they're like vibing with us. Morgan Rose, they're all like, they're like, you can tell they're like, hell yeah, let's see what these guys are about. And I talked to LeJean before the show and he was like, dude, I'm a big fan. And I've been a big fan for a long time. And we broed out and that felt good. Now we're on stage and I'm looking at the audience and we're playing our songs. And there's this dude out there in the middle of the crowd, just like this. And I just remember looking at him, and in between songs, I just looked at him and said, it's okay. He seemed what I thought was his girlfriend beside him. And I just said, it's okay, bro. Your girl likes us. And then she didn't know he was doing it. She looked at him and then just smacked the shit out of him right in front of everybody. It was like the coolest thing ever. And, but yeah, there was, I digress a little, but we wanted to be in that arena so bad, but we also knew what we were putting out at the time and what we were kind of, no one ever said, you can't do this. They just didn't show any excitement for any time we would turn in a song that was, a little riskier or a little heavier. And then when we came out with our second record, that opening song, like, this is exactly goes to my point where you put these songs out that no one ever hears because it never has a chance. And we were on tour with Bon Jovi writing the second record. And I had already gotten tired of playing these songs from the first record. So we opened with Bon Jovi, we opened our set with a song that no one knew. And it was the heaviest shit we'd ever done. It was called You Don't Belong. And it was the first song on our second record. And it's all dropped and it's heavy riff. But no one ever knew about it other than the diehard fans, because we played it live so much, but it never gave people that perception like, oh, that's what they clearly want to be doing. It was like, we'll let you put this song on it. And then the rest was like, we felt like the thumb, was on us, and it went from no pressure on the first record to this record sells 5-7 million albums, and now all the pressure is on. And it just felt like from there on, it was this unspoken thing where nobody's playing guitars anymore on the radio. If you want to stay relevant on top 40, you got to do what these guys are doing over here. And I played ball. I've kind of, my own fault just for, not having a clear enough vision at the time. And I thought that these people over here, they clearly are out for what's best for me. They're really wanting, me to do well. So and they're the ones paying the bills here. They're the ones fronting the money. So I got, and I'm getting all these outside voices and influence telling me that this is what you need to be doing. This is what you need to be doing. And I started believing it. And it wasn't until, that record you were talking about, that was supposed to be, it was our last record with RCA, and it was supposed to be our return back to rock. I got Jakir King to produce it. He'd done the Kings of Leon and Modest Mouse, and we thought like, oh, he's got the cool factor. We're gonna do this like raw. He did Kaleo. We're gonna do this like raw rock record, and then this new A&R person steps in halfway through the process and just derails the whole thing. Production changes, and I'm like, oh my God, we're exactly where we were trying to get away from.
Yeah.
So we finished our record contract, RCA. We parted ways, and then COVID happens, and I'm like, at this point, I've gone through all the self-doubt. I don't even know if I'm a good songwriter anymore. I don't know. There's just this feeling of like, I guess I did it all. I guess I've done, what I'm going to do. And we're kind of, has been at this point. That was my thought process. And then we get the rug pulled out from under us like everybody else did, and we're home. We're stuck at home for God knows how long, and I'm forced to like evaluate everything. And I remember just thinking to myself, like, I'm not on a label anymore. I get to make the fucking rules here. Nobody's telling me what I can't do. And I'm like, do I need to change the band name? Like, do I need to like completely reinvent the wheel here and just, scrap anything that anyone ever knew about me and just go and do what I wanted to do all along?
Can I ask you a question? Is that a you thing, or is that like a collective thing that the band is, are you kind of like at the helm of the vision?
I'm at the helm of the vision, and it's always kind of been that way. And, when I started with that first record, I had to put the band together after the fact. There were studio musicians on that first record, and only two of the guys are still with me from the original lineup. So it's, it for all intents and purposes, it is a band, but it is my vision, and I'm the only one that was ever signed to a record label. And so it's like, I do remember like mentioning to the guys, like, I think we should just like change the name. like, and just get rid of like any recognition that, and they're like, no, man, you don't never, no way, man. Dave Grohl hates his band name too, but he doesn't change it, you know, like,
Well, I mean,
um,
there's a power in brands, you know, and
yeah,
it's a weird thing, but it's I don't think things are that different, but I guess,
no.
but I
And
guess
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying that like that was kind of like one of the questions I was going to ask is like, you know, you are the one who is experiencing this with your audience, right? In terms of like, you know, you have I think the interesting thing about the early career is these records are so massive and these songs are so big. I mean, this is like really in our sector of the world, there's not that many bands that achieve those types of sales and chart positions and you know some of the real achievements. And so to some degree, right, uh you might have some issues with some of that stuff, but it is also validated by commercial success, right?
Right. Right.
Um, but is it a situation where um that audience was that like a reflection of that kind of immediate fame, or are those people like sticking with you, or is that like even though even like Bad Wolves I think has had some issues with this where like we have this one big hit and even some other hits as well, but like are those real fans, are they fair weather fans, are they just, you know what I'm saying, like that kind of thing of like
Yeah.
there's a downside of that kind of massive success as well, where it's like it's a double-edged sword to some degree, and I just wonder if that's something you've experienced in terms of how the audience has grown with you through the years.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting is, the diehard fan base, um, you know, excluding the people that were only there because of Idol and excluding the people that were only there because it was a number one on the radio or whatever, the ones that we have seen, the steady fans over the last 15 years, it was as if they were waiting for this era. Like they were like, finally, this is exactly what I knew that you guys were capable of. And we were just waiting for this moment. So it was, and rock radio was the same way. I thought for sure that we were going to be, kind of just kind of like, yeah, whatever. And there was a little bit of an uphill battle with, you know, so going back to what I was saying about like, I get to choose what music I'm making. Nobody's telling me. So that was Dearly Beloved. That was the record that we put out on an indie label. It was my label. And we had, you know, two top tens at rock radio and one top 15. And that was coming from, you know, complete obscurity on rock radio and hadn't touched rock radio since like '06, you know what I mean? And so we were like, man, this might be a true uphill battle here. But
So what radio
really,
were you being serviced towards, like pop radio or like hot AC and so that
hot AC was really our bread and butter. Because, well, it started with top 40, but then top 40 became a little more pop oriented, and anything with guitars was kind of shifted over to hot AC. And then they didn't want them either anymore. You know, hence, you know, the Imagine Dragons and the, you know, One Republic and like all those bands that were kind of in our vein were slowly but surely, you know, weeding out the guitars. And so yeah, it was an interesting, we felt like we didn't fit into either. We didn't fit into pop. We definitely weren't putting out stuff that worked for active rock at the time. And Hot AC was kind of starting to be more top 40 oriented too. So it was like, we were kind of like out here, like, it was because we weren't doing the music that people thought was believable to us. And as soon as we, you know, we turned it up and started getting heavy again, it was as if everything fell into place. And it was very clear to me that this is what we've been missing. This is what we've been, this is what the fans have been missing. And sure, did we lose some? I'm pretty sure of it. There's always going to be the ones like, I want to hear Feels Like Tonight, but and songs that I never liked to begin with that I didn't even write, so there are songs that still stay in the set list that we just play a little louder now, and I think you and I did a festival last year together, and
Blue Ridge,
right?
Or 2 years ago,
before they canceled a couple years ago,
and 2022.
And I was like, man, do I play this song or not? Is that it's that like I know what the people are here for, and I start questioning if we're one of the bands that they were there for or not, and I literally said I wasn't going to play this, and I just went out there with my acoustic guitar. I said, "But fuck it, here we go." And I played Home, and the place went nuts. And I was thinking that might be the only song of its type that got played today amongst the heaviest of heavy stuff. And I'm like, maybe that was a little bit of a breath of fresh air for that moment, and because it was a song that was on the radio for years, and you couldn't escape it. Even me, I couldn't escape it. It's like this song is like, I don't even want to play this song anymore. But there is power in having a song that people know. And so I've been on both sides of the fence where I'm like, I'm never playing any of these songs ever again. If you don't like this version of us, then fuck you. And then there's like, oh, but back up. I did write these songs. There is value to that, and there is value to these songs. They do like both. Yeah. And I have to I was talking to Brent Smith about that one time. I was like, dude, I feel like I'm in this like weird predicament where like I'm trying so hard to reinvent ourselves, and that I'm terrified to play these other songs. And he goes, dude, those songs are still yours. They're not yours anymore. They belong to the fans. And
I agree with
you. And it's your job to give them what they want. And I'm like, man, he's right. So there's definitely a during our headlining sets, obviously we gotta hit them with the hits, and I'm grateful for those. I'm not shitting on them at all. It's and I think for me it was always that fear of like rock radio is going to go, see, I knew they were that band, and turn their back again. So there's this like PTSD a little bit about like this trying to prove that we're a rock band. But back to what you said, Artificial kind of did that, and in a way that still felt like us, but it was also like, who's this? You know what I mean? Like, so anyway, I ramble on, but
can we expect more stuff in that vein in terms of the sonic kind of timbres? Okay, good, because dude, it's like probably my favorite thing you've done. And also like even listening to it, I'm just like, part of me was like, man, I just want to hear Chris on like a full on metal record, like just straight up like on like Lamb of God riffs, and hearing you wail, because you have a lot of like like you can get real clean and real pristine, but you also have a lot of grit and fucking like I don't know. I think your voice just works really well. And you have like, one thing I noticed, like when you did the song with Bad Wolves, is like your voice like cuts through in a certain way. I don't know if it's like I would describe it as like as a tenor, like mid range thing, but it just has great cut, and that's like, especially with like old school metal singers, right? You listen to like Rob Halford and like all
Yeah.
those old singers, they were like trying to sing over like these fucking loud Marshall stacks. So
Yeah.
so the great singer's voice is able to cut through all that volume and distortion and stuff, and you do that very, very well.
Thank you, man. Yeah, that was before like everyone was on in-ears and Kempers and that loud. I can't even imagine how those guys sang over all of that noise and kept a voice. But thank you, man.
Raging.
It's a blessing and a curse because I can never be on a phone call in this house without everyone hearing everything I have to say. I have to like go outside because my voice like goes through the walls. But man, I would love to do more stuff like that. I find it exciting. When I'm in the gym, everything I'm listening to is just heavy as it gets. And so yeah, I've been waiting to kind of dive into that for a long time. And there's definitely more of that on this record for sure. There's one we just did that I'm like, I'm a little scared to see how people are going to react to this, but at the same time, that's what makes me excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like I said, you have a sense of your fan base, so I don't even know what they expect from you or what that would like. Like, I'm trying to imagine someone going, "Oh, it's like that from Back to the Future." I'm sorry,
Yeah.
just too darn loud. Huey Lewis.
We've noticed the demographic has certainly changed a little over the last few years. And we're definitely starting to get more of a GA audience, Was
it before? Was it just previously just hot moms? That's what I was just a MILF audience. All right. That's what I was expecting.
Dude, you know what's crazy? Like we've gotten way more dudes since going back to rock radio than like hard looking bros out there. and that's cool too, because there for a while it was predominantly, the mom crowd. And, there's a reason why Family Guy, has pegged us as Lois's favorite band for so long, because
I didn't even know that. That's amazing.
Oh my God, dude, we've been talked about like 5 or 6 times on there now, which is hilarious. I love it. I think it's great. But yeah, I think her Facebook name was like Daughtry Mom 60 something or whatever.
Incredible. Have you ever met Seth MacFarlane?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think the reason he's been making fun of me for the last few years is because I met him. And I met him at Comic-Con years ago, and it was an after party of some sort in San Diego. And I noticed that he's over here standing against the wall by himself. Nobody's bothering him. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to go talk to him. And I was like, dude, I think you're a genius. I don't know if I called him dude, but and it would be an honor if you made fun of me on your show. And he said something like, I'll make fun of your whole body or whatever. And I didn't think anything of it. A couple years goes by, and then friends will be like, they started sending me videos like, dude, did you know? I'm like, what? And they send me a clip. I'm like, oh my God, he did it, And so it's kind of been a thing that's been going on for the last like 3 or 4 years. And I actually just went on there for the first time as me I did a cameo for Lois.
Dude, that's so cool.
So yeah,
I had no idea.
It's one of those things that it's like, I would love for SNL to make fun of us, or like, I've always just thought that was like the coolest honor to have, like South Park or Family Guy or somebody to just like totally rake you over the coals and make fun of you. Like, now we made it.
That's what I'm saying. It's definitely a sign that you're that people give a shit, even if they're
Yeah.
they're shitting on you. Unless you're the Kanye, the gay fish episode, like there's like you. I don't know if you're Kanye, because that's the ultimate. Like no one was clowned harder than Kanye on that.
I've never seen that, but I've heard all about it.
Dude, it is all timer. Like you have to find it and watch it. It is one of the greatest pieces of art out there in comedy. It's just absolutely brilliant. So I'm gonna switch lanes a little bit.
Switch lanes here.
So no, I went back and I watched like your original audition for American Idol. And no, but what like stood out to me was you had an early detractor, Mr. Simon Cowell, and he said something that really stuck with me. He said that you lacked charisma. And that's something, like I come from like the extreme metal world. And then when Bad Wolves kind of happened, like I kind of entered this world of mainstream rock music, and it was like very alien to me. And I experienced basically situations where people in, my collective basically kind of hinted at things like that. Like you're not a star. You don't have star power. Like, and that it really affected me. And I was wondering if that was something that like, was like, or I guess blanketly, how did that affect you? Did it affect you? And was it something that like maybe put a chip on your shoulder or make you like question yourself, or, what like, or did it not affect you at all?
I think in the moment I was affected, in the sense that he was the one that I wanted to impress. Like there was something about like, if I can get this dude to like me, I feel like I've achieved something, because he had this huge reputation of being hard to please. And I was like, man, I just want to go in there and blow him away. So when he spoke up and was like, no, I don't see any charisma or whatever, I think in the moment I was like deflated, but in hindsight, I watch it and I'm like, he is dead on it. Like I was stiff as a board. I looked like I was terrified. And I was like, I got to hit these notes. I was only focused on the singing. Like I wasn't trying to put on a show. I'm used to being with my band behind a guitar and a mic stand. And, that's like how I perform. Now I'm like standing here with no music, nothing. And I'm like, I'm like, I hope I remember the key. I hope I don't start this thing too high. And then like all these things are like rushing through my brain. I'm like, I just need to nail it. And from a vocal perspective, I'm like, I feel like I did that, but I kind of took a step back and was like, okay, what is he really saying here? Like I don't know if he's fucking with me or if he's just trying to not let me off so easy or whatever. But I did see him later that day outside the convention center. I don't even know why he wasn't like surrounded by people, but he was getting in his car. And I went up and I shook his hand and I said, I'll prove you wrong in Hollywood. And he goes, you do that. And kind of gave me a wink and a smile. And I think at that moment I was like, okay, he sees something, but he's testing me. And it made me want to work harder. It made me want to,
you think he was testing you? Because he literally voted no.
Yeah.
That seemed like a test. That seemed like he believed, like he was doubling down on his assessment.
Yeah, but I think
he knew that the other two.
I think the other two had already said enough nice things that I think he probably felt safe to do that because he already is like, they're going to say yes. So I don't know. I'm just, presuming, but he always seemed to be like, to have my back, so to speak, from there on out. But I think it was also because he saw that I was willing to put in the work. And I think I could have easily just had a chip on my shoulder. Like, I do what I do. Yeah. You don't tell me what I do. I do what and I didn't. I've always kind of been one to go, okay, where's the truth in this criticism and what can I take from it?
Well, listen, that's very, very mature. But do you think because I think to me, if I was, because you were 25, right? right?
I
So
was 25 or 26. Yeah.
yeah, but I feel like if someone said that to me when I was 25 or 26, I don't know if I would have understood what they meant. Like
I
I didn't.
didn't. I
Yeah,
didn't at the time, for
yeah.
sure. It took me years to figure that out later.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like when I was receiving similar criticisms, it was this thing where I was like, is that like, I guess my inherent idea of it was it's something you're born with, right? Like either you have it or you don't. But then when
Mm.
I hear you talk about it right now, you talk about it as something that can be cultivated, right? It's like, well, no, it's charisma is not something that I have, it's something that I display.
Mm.
I'm kind of asking
Yeah.
that. Like, I don't know, like,
Yeah. I feel like charisma comes with comfort with who you are too. And I feel like
so it can be developed.
I think it can be developed. And I think I still have moments where I feel like I could use some work, you know. Um, but I also think you, when you're doing what's real to you and um, what you're passionate about, and I think that's kind of where it naturally comes out. But yeah, I think when you're in a situation like you were saying, you know, you're coming from this world and now you're in this world, and even if they're not saying it, you're probably hearing it in your own head, like what are they thinking about me in this, and you know, this version of me, or whatever. um so yeah, I think I mean, but then, you know, we could negative self-talk ourselves to death, you know. But yeah, I think it's cultivatable. You know.
I think it's so present in the moment, right? And you know what I'm saying, the young people, they even have a word for it, Riz, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think there's a reason why like Gen Z has honed in on that term.
Which, by the way, I think you have a ton of Riz.
Oh,
By
thank
the
you.
way.
You're very kind. But I think that terminology and like I said, 20 years ago, we can look at that and feel like that's almost like this alien concept for like, you know, for the reasons why we got into music or whatever, or self perceptions or all this weird stuff. But I think it's very present in the minds of young people because of social media, right? In an influencer culture, right? There are certain individuals that seem to have like an it factor that is immediately like they're validated, right? That like, oh, people just like that person. They like their screen presence. They like, maybe some at times it's just they're good looking, or they're whatever, or they speak very well, or they have just something, or they're authentic or whatever. And so it's this thing that like I never used to think about, and now I think about it all the time. Right.
Do you think it's because of the access they had to so many influencers?
Oh,
And,
absolutely.
you know,
But I think it's also like, if you were to take like, you know, you have, you know, kids and things like that, like, or you see them interact with technology, right, in a way that perhaps we didn't, where like they are so comfortable on camera. There's, do you know what I'm saying? Like, whereas like, I feel like I had to really learn how to like talk to a camera and be like with no one else. And then you do it a bunch and all of a sudden it becomes normal. But for them, it's so intuitive, where it's like, I feel like previous generations had to be media trained, and now people media train themselves.
That's true.
You know, because everything is
different tools, different access, different. I mean, you know, they'll never understand what it was like to not have any of that. You know, it was all new to us. You know, we saw it kind of be birthed.
Yeah, well, actually, I have this weird theory about acting in films, that actors were better before like 20 years ago, because people, like, if you watch like, you know, some like Dog Day Afternoon or like Jaws or something, right? Like or something from like the 70s, right? People didn't have any really self-awareness, right? So you could film people and they'll do their thing and they're so like in themselves that things feel more authentic. But everyone is so used to being filmed and being on and being in like this version of themselves.
The good angle, the good lighting, this face, don't make that face.
Well, just all that, but also just like how you're being, right? Like, and obviously there's still plenty of wonderful actors, and
Yeah.
we have so much great television and films and all that stuff. But I think about like this idea of just being like we're all, it's like being aware of who we are, like persona, right? Is anyone really a real person? Or are we all just like, you know what I'm saying? Like everything I do, I'm like, like we're all trying to be authentic, but is being authentic just being, oh, I'm playing an authentic person on the internet? Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's all like the illusion is built in the reality, and and who are we really? I don't know. I guess I'm getting too deep with it. This is like turn into the weed cast.
We're just
weed.
We're just a simulation anyway, right?
Dude, I actually discovered this YouTube channel called the Y Files, and it's like my new favorite thing in the world. I've been like, dude, it's awesome because it's like this guy, I forget the host name, but he does like a subject, and he kind of like, he'll do like the moon landing was faked, right? So he'll present all the evidence or the stories or the mythology on why it's faked, and then the last like 3 minutes he debunks everything and tells you what's bullshit and what's plausible. So it's like it has all the flavor of conspiracy, but then with like reality.
But it's backed with facts.
Yeah, like, and then it like goes, oh, you loved all this stuff? Yeah, well, most of that's bullshit. So it like, so it gives you like the best of both worlds for like, someone who wants to like dip a toe in that, but then also come back to reality. So anyway, so they had this episode.
That sounds like a rabbit hole.
Yes, but it had this episode about the simulation theory, and I never thought about it in a real plausible way. And I watched the episode, and now I'm like,
it's trippy, right?
It is actually kind of fucked up. But you know what? My evidence that it's not a simulation theory is just like all the dumb shit. Like, why would I have pimples? All right. Why would, do you know what I'm saying? Why would there be like butt hair? All right. Or farting. Why is this in the simulation? Where's like, there's just all this.
Well, they really went through the details, didn't they?
That's what I'm saying. Or like think about the dumb things you're stuck in traffic for.
Yeah.
Just like just someone crashing into like a pole for no reason.
Those just NPCs that are.
I'm just, there's just too much dumb shit. But then also like you look at reality, you're like, this is almost, you're like, it's too weird not to be written, because it's always, they say reality is always stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
All right. We all nice little tangent there. That was a lot of fun. So one thing we got to talk about. So maybe this actually my transition, maybe it bleeds into charisma. We have to talk about, because I always, every time I like talk about the song we did together, I got to mention how you're like my hero because you're so ripped and jacked and fucking handsome, and and it's also, hey, I love it. But like, but also doing the research, and like seeing like old video and old pictures of you, like I feel like not only has like your music undergone this transformation, but it seems like you have undergone a personal transformation. What was kind of the motivation or impetus behind like, I guess, becoming more health conscious or more fitness oriented, and how did you kind of take that on, and how long ago did you kind of get on that train?
Yeah, it's been years in the making, really, and just starting slow and just slowly stacking better habits. But I think, I was always kind of obsessed with, that kind of physique at a young age, based on my obsession with like Jean-Claude Van Damme right behind you. My love for comic books, and it kind of, I remember getting into like bodybuilding magazines when I was a kid. And I think it was all based on the fact that I loved superheroes and just that aesthetic. And so I remember, I kind of started training a lot in high school, but then, life and, bad habits and in life. And so I would kind of get back into good shape and then kind of fall off again and then get back into good shape. And so during COVID, I think I just was like, fuck it, I started thinking like, how do I want to look and what would that person do? And I just started stacking those habits and making it a lifestyle.
Can you give me an example of some of those habits?
I quit drinking. I quit smoking. I quit like all the party stuff. I quit. I started getting up early.
So you were like a party guy before that?
Not really. Not necessarily. I wouldn't say like I didn't. I did drink a lot. Yeah. And during like the first few weeks of COVID, I was like drinking in the afternoon, like day drinking all the time, and I wasn't like getting hammered, but it was just something that I was doing often just because it was just something I was used to. And I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I want to feel better. I want to look better. I want to, I started getting up. I hate mornings, hate it. But I started making it a habit to be up like 5 o'clock every morning, except when I'm on the road because I have to.
How do you fall asleep though? That's the toughest thing for me.
So ironically enough, when I cut out all the bad shit and started eating better, I had no problem falling asleep.
There you go.
And when I started waking up at 5 o'clock, it's like rare that I'm up past 10:30. Like I can't do it. I'll try to be watching something and I'm like,
what about tour?
Tour is different. I get a slightly different schedule. I sleep till around 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. And then, I'm in bed by like midnight because I have to have my energy level up, during showtime. If I was up at 5 o'clock on the road, by the time show I would be like, it's my bedtime, y'all.
When you're headlining, what are you going, like 9, something like that? Yeah,
something like that. So I'm having to like adjust the schedule a little bit, but I still keep the same habits. I'm still, I eat very consistently clean, except for like 1 day a week. I train, weights 3 to 4 times a week and I walk like, this is crazy. I started doing this pretty recently, but I get like 15 to 20,000 steps a day, just walking.
So you walk, you're not like running or doing the
elliptical.
Walking.
I'm walking, like walk my dog or, I'll go take a quick 20-minute walk, like 2 or 3 times a day. And that shit adds up. And that's been a little secret weapon.
Yeah. All right. Listen, I'm because I feel like I'm like in terrible shape right now, and I'm trying. I'm like getting back in the gym. I'm doing stuff, but it's just been very herky jerky. So I need as much inspiration.
Yeah,
and we need you to inspire the people.
The diet is probably the biggest part of it.
Yeah.
Which is hard. But I guess once you get to a place where it becomes like, I stopped looking at it as dieting and started looking at it as like, just, this is how I eat. Yeah. Like this is just what I do to keep the results that I have.
And is
or
that
to
like,
get the results that I have.
Did you like go to nutritionists or did you just like kind of figure out your own regimen?
I have a lot of people in my corner that are in that world that I get a lot of information from. One of the guys, Fraser Bailey, he's we kind of train indirectly and he's always given me like tips and stuff. But really it was just like, I know the things. It's like lean protein, good carbs, a lot of greens, and the hardest thing is, staying away from like sweets, but like once a week I go all in.
Right on, man. Yeah. It's like, we act like there's these secrets, but it's like, we know it's like no fried foods and, and just you did pretty low carb or not no carb, but good carbs, you said, right?
Good carbs like sweet potatoes or baked potato and grilled asparagus. Sometimes sweet potato fries. Like, I mean, I don't do a lot of stuff with a lot of oils or butters or anything like that. I feel weird talking about it because it just sounds so boring. But
I think it is. But
air fryer,
does it
air
make it
fryer
tough?
is like my friend.
Does it make it tough to like go out to eat and things like that?
No, because I'll just choose the cleaner of the options.
Yeah.
I don't restrict myself to the point where I'm like, I can't eat because of this. I did that for a while and it was miserable. But I've gotten to a place now where I can kind of know where I'm at and go, I can kind of afford to do this right now because I did this earlier, or I'm gonna just walk that off later, or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I'm not. For the most part, it's just making good choices. But if we're at a restaurant and there's like, I mean, I'm eating steak, I'm having, I'm having great food. It's just like, maybe I won't do the truffle mac and cheese. You know what I mean?
You are strong.
Unless it's cheat day, and then I will absolutely have the fucking truffle mac and cheese.
Hell yeah. But kind of almost like leading back to like our kind of the previous topic we were talking about, do you feel that's like aided in this, like, because I feel like, again, these are things I learned later in life, having the job that we have, which is like, it is kind of a persona, and we are kind of playing a part, right, as being like the person on the stage and in the spotlight, and kind of, I think part of the role is partially being aspirational.
Yeah.
In terms of
I think that's part of it. And I want to inspire people, but at the same time, I would see pictures of myself and go, I don't want to look like that. I want to look like this.
Yeah.
So what do I got to do to do this? And I'm very much, when I make my mind up to do something, I'm very driven, and I have very, very strong willpower. So, and that's been with anything in life. When I've decided I wanted to do something, I just do it.
Where does that come from?
It. I have no idea. I really don't.
Maybe that is your superpower.
Yeah, maybe.
No, but I think about that all the time. Like I feel like we talk about like people like, oh, like I work hard, but a lot of times your working habits or like that work ethic you learn from like your environment. Your parents worked really hard.
Well, my dad was, we worked a lot growing up.
Yeah.
I didn't, I grew up, in a small town in North Carolina, and we chopped our own wood. We killed our own chickens. We raised it was like real work. Like my kids know nothing about that. And hated it, but I think it did instill this, ability to do the hard things. You know what I mean? When the result or outcome is important enough to you, then hard work ain't shit. You know what I mean?
When it comes to like developing your vocal ability, was that something that was innate, or is it the same type of hard work, determination type of perspective?
I'm still trying to figure that out. I think there was certainly this inherent ability, even if I didn't know what I was doing, that just felt natural, to mimic or kind of do what some of my heroes were doing, and then combine that with the confidence of people telling you that you've got something, and then you go, oh, maybe I need to work on that, and maybe I need to learn more about it, and just your own curiosity of going, man, I feel like I can do this, but I can't do that. How do I do that? And I'm still trying to figure it out. I was telling DL, like when I heard the record, I'm like, I wish I could do those guttural screams. I feel like I can until I go to do it, and it's like it just doesn't I feel like everybody knows how to do it but me. You know what I mean?
Have you ever talked to Melissa Cross about her technique?
I have, and I've worked with her a few times, but we have yet to get to that point in the session where it's clicked. So we have to reconvene on those.
That's my thing too, is I can like yell like dirty, kind of like, but I can't, really scream like the Fry scream and all that, that stuff. And
I can do the high Fry stuff, but it's that low, like, I don't know. It just sounds like, I was just listening to the new Wage War record, and I was like, that just sounds so fun, like, to just be able to do it. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's fun if you can do it without hurting yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think that's like, I think it's really fascinating where, like I said, I come more from the heavier scene where, like, back in the day, like, it was rare where someone could both scream and sing, right? Either someone was a singer or a screamer. And usually when someone was a screamer first, they struggle with singing. They struggle with pitch, so on and so forth. And I think the opposite is probably easier, but I've also, kind of like your situation. And I think even DL, like, he's had to work a lot to develop that side of it, because I think singing comes a lot more natural. But he's also like
the kind of transitioning in and out of those two different, characters, so to speak.
Yeah, and like he's like one of these guys where he's almost like, he almost reminds me. You remember Michael Winslow from like Police Academy? Like, he's one of those guys where he can just make sounds with his face.
Yeah,
That's so I feel
cool.
Like, so he can just like learn how to do things. But I do think there are some people who just have that thing where, like, now, dude, it's like a dime a dozen. Like, these people that can sing and scream and do both well, and I'm like, where did all these talented son of bitches come from? And maybe it is from like the fact there's all these like learning materials out there and courses.
I think we're just evolving as a species, and these younger generation can do shit way quicker and way better at it. Like, have you seen some of these like parkour videos where like they're literally doing superhuman shit? Like, they're like stuff that wasn't even available to gymnasts. You know what I mean? Like, back in the day, it's like they're doing stuff that I'm like, we've clearly like stepped up in our abilities. And because you're right, like, there's so many dudes out there that not only can do that with their voice, but they're doing no damage. I mean, they go into it so easily and effortlessly. I don't know if all metal vocalists were doing it that well back in the day, or with that level of technique, but the kids these days, it's like, it's crazy. Like this Andy Sizik. Have you ever seen this guy?
Yeah, from
like, dude, it's insane what that kid's able to do. I mean, he's a grown up, but I mean, I'm pushing 45, so I guess to me, he's a kid.
He does have a baby face, though.
Yeah. But he's brutal, man. Like, the stuff he's able to do is super impressive, man.
Yeah, man. It's, I mean, in all aspects, I'm like, think about this though, right? In like a couple years, right? Think about the first motherfucker get some implants in their throat.
Get some fake cords in here to get my scream on.
Dude, they're combining the natural with the unnatural. It's gonna get wild. All right, imagine if you could just get a little like auto tune thing implanted. Always in key. Or, listen, I'll take any help I can get out there. But no, I think it's really impressive, and it's actually interesting listening to the stuff from American Idol and see like how much better you are now. Like, it's not even close. Like, it's almost
dude,
like
I can't watch those episodes. Like, I just can't. It makes me like embarrassed for me. I don't know if anybody else probably ever felt that way, but I watch it and I'm just like, I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I did, but I cringe every time.
Yeah, but you were.
But I also do that with my first couple records, or first record for sure. I'm like, I was just figuring it out,
Yeah, but that dude, I mean, think about it, right? Like I don't know necessarily your pathway up to that point. But I think, you know, once you're at the point in your life where you can dedicate all your time to that thing, it completely changes the context, because there's no way around reps. Do you know what I'm saying? Of like I always tell, like, you know, like bands, like let's say your local band, or you're coming up and you're like, oh, we got a gig, and you could rehearse every day for that gig, right? 30 days in a row, and then you play the gig and it's still going to be just pretty good. But there's nothing like going out and doing that same set for a year on tour.
Oh yeah.
It becomes part of your DNA.
Absolutely.
But that only happens because you went and you just did it every day in different venues.
Under pressure.
Yeah, like, under pressure.
With rehearsal, you can go, I don't feel like singing this line right now, or whatever. I kind of flub that, but it's okay because we're rehearsing. That all goes away when you hit the stage. Yeah, when it's 100 degrees and the sun's in your eyes, or the fucking guitar breaks, or the things feeding back, or there's someone giving you the finger, or your in-ears sound like garbage. Exactly. So it's like so I think like just those reps, and like, you know, I sing as well, but, you know, obviously nowhere near what you do, but I've noticed with me, like, it keeps getting better because it's this internal thing that the more you do it, you just learn different things about it. And it's like, it's going to get better. And I know, like, singers, like, once you kind of hit a certain age, we've seen certain singers kind of lose some of their range and kind of power. But then we've also seen people like Rob Halford and fucking Bruce Dickinson, where they're just as good or better. Steven Tyler sounded better in his like 50s than he did in his 20s. Which is crazy. Thank you so much for doing the show. This has been so much fun. Thank you for having me, Doc. Seriously. Anytime. Listen, man, you're the man. I love you, brother. Thank you so much for doing the track with Bad Wolves. We didn't even get to talk about Absolutely, that. Man. I know, man. Dude, we need to revisit this conversation. Well, that's all right. People, you know what? The proof is in the pudding. People heard the song. That song's doing really well, by the way. So, dude, the fans fucking love it, and I think it's a fantastic song. I had a blast singing it. Well, you crushed it, and I gotta let people know just how much work this dude put into it. He did different versions. He was giving notes on the mix. He cared more than we did, and it was so reflective. You elevated the song so much. And I'm glad people are digging it, and that's just thank you so much, and thank you for having me on it, man. I was honored to be asked, so dude. I appreciate you, and love you too. Thank you for the support, and everybody out there, check out Pieces if you haven't already. Awesome song. And check us out on the tour with Breaking Benjamin and Stained, and listen to the new Bad Wolves record because it slaps hard, y'all. Thank you, dude. And also, I'll probably see you in San Bernardino with Creed. Yeah, awesome, man. I'll kind of come down. Let's hang out. Brother, take care. Be well. Let's talk soon. Brother. Cheers. Take care, man.